Hello and welcome back to Get Even. This is Bio Enchanted, and today we'll be going through a small part of the asylum, which has some interesting visual stuff, and then also my favourite level in the whole game as well. It's a particularly weird one, but we'll see it when we get there, shall we? So let's examine our next couple of memoir entries. Again, this is really way too small. It's a shame you don't you pull the phone closer into your face for those, because the text is so tiny. It's my biggest problem with the game, really, is, besides a couple of glitches I came across occasionally, that occasionally in the next level you'll get stuck up on the geometry because it's a little over complex compared to the rest of the game, and have to restart from checkpoint, which is annoying. But other than that, that's really the only problem I have, is that kind of thing. I quite like the visual stuff here, with Grace's room kind of invading the asylum a little bit. That's a really interesting visual thing, and it works fairly well with the way it kind of plays with the perspective. I quite like turning around and seeing there's something new there that wasn't there before. It's an interesting way of doing the whole thing. It's neat effects. It's a nice departure as well from the usual Grace showing up and saying something vaguely angry at you. Here you are in the next room. It's a fairly quiet part of the game, actually. No puppet master stuff, just us. Not even any red, just us and the evidence. Let's examine it, shall we? Get an idea of how Rose got her position in the first place. One thing about the email addresses in these little emails is some of them can be quite difficult to work out. Like, Roses Are Red is obviously Rose Atkins. I think Needle in the Hay at Sugar is Jasper Prado, but it's not entirely certain. The only ones that really have a particularly obvious names are these people that are just on the periphery of the main plot. Don't really have a lot to do with it, like Madeline here, who's just a casting agent. If you take a look at the HR records here, everyone's working on different projects. Rose has been assigned to the virtual reality helmet, and obviously she's been doing a lot more work than everyone else. Seems like she's got something to prove. And she apparently got someone fired by attaching some dodgy porn. She kind of, I actually kind of forgot just now. Exactly how she got him fired is elaborated on later in this video. I just misremembered exactly what was stated in that particular chat log. It's the important thing though, since ADS have completely collapsed at this point, FTG is the only real game in town when it comes to arms stuff, so stealing that corner gun seemed to be a real big boon for them. This part's an interesting contrast to the rest of the game because it's completely silent pretty much outside of the actual sound effects, which makes it fairly eerie in its own right.
Okay, what do I need to do this time?
Search the memory for Rose Atkins. Find out who her employer was. Find out why she would turn on me after I gave her everything.
Okay.
And then we will find out your involvement, Mr. Black. We still need to know why you were there.
This level is not particularly big, but it is a maze. There is a lot of places you can easily get lost in this level. It's relatively big, it's sprawling, it goes in all directions, and generally the layout is quite a mess, but it's also interesting. And I quite like how on the nose that "you are there" moment is. That's just hilarious.
Where is this? I don't know this place.
Ah, yes. Holmwood Cemetery. I'm afraid I do. And if the Pandora has brought you here, then you do too.
And how do you know this place?
It's next to the company building. It allowed Rose and I to have a certain privacy.
Looks like we met here too. So where is she?
Distinctive ringtone.
DNA and fingerprints confirmed. Rose Atkins.
Rose?
Black, listen. I know you're angry, but the wheels are in motion, and there's nothing either of us can do to stop them. I can't have anyone standing in my way. Especially not you.
I'm starting to remember. I was looking for Grace. I think Rose had her. I was trying to stop her.
I didn't want it to be this way, but you're now a liability. Security! Make it painless. Goodbye, Black. I'm sorry.
I swear I did not intend to have that camera angle happen. I was mostly just doing that to keep stealthy. Because this level is really big on stealth, and there's a lot of guys here. I misremembered and thought a few of them spawned here, but they don't. I really like the soundtrack of this level though. It's a very interesting usage of this song. I may post a link to it in the thread if it's not too if the attached things after the video's over aren't too spoilery, because obviously I put it through policy because the comments are incredibly spoilery, but even then I'm not sure if the next up by this guy kind of things that still show up on policy would also spoil parts of this plot, or if it'd just be other music videos. Because this is actually an actual song that was on the radio and everything like that. It's an actual song by an artist, not like made for the game or anything like that. Just edited slightly for be a game soundtrack thing. And it certainly adds an interesting flavour to this level. And the important thing really here is the bass line as well that we're hearing in the background right now, because it's the ringtone we heard at the beginning of the level. So let's just hope this guy turns away, but it seems like he might not, so let's just risk it. I mean, of course, he kind of pseudo-spied us. Let's get out of here quickly before he actually catches up to us, shall we?
Nope. All clear.
As you can tell, when it's in yellow, the lyrics start coming in, which is very neat. The song gets clearer the more alerted the enemies are to you, and that's a very interesting way of doing this kind of thing. Overall, I really like this level's atmosphere. It's big, it's sprawling, it's a complete maze, as I mentioned earlier. But there is a way to find your way through it if you're not as familiar with it as I am. You may have noticed that big sign that it focused on at the beginning. Those maps are all over you can see one over there. Those maps are all over the cemetery. They're basically there to help the player work out a good route through it, so that they can work out the best way to get to where they need to get to. Of course we need to get to this big central area at this point, but all of the doors that would have been there, because as you can see from the thing, there should have been a straight way through from the beginning of the level to that place. But all these walls and doors are either closed or bricked up at this point because of the way these levels work. Actually, in a future playthrough as well that I did for the code thing for this level, I'd actually forgotten this little route was even open, and I was going along the hard way through those 3 idiots. So that was me being dumb there. So if that means I had to sacrifice the good ending, I might have. If I need to replay this level to do that properly, at least I'll remember which way to go. Speaking of, this level is actually going to be accompanied by an update that's going to be the first bonus update of this series, which will be me showing off exactly what the codes that you unlock for getting all the evidence in each level actually do. So look forward to that. It's actually quite worth it. It's quite fun and interesting. At least I think so, anyway. I think I'm always kind of a sucker for this kind of thing. But I'll stop being coy and just keep avoiding this idiot who's just kind of being cheeky. Go away. There we go. Because on the other places to get the secret here, I actually I had to kill that guy because again I went the wrong direction. He was the only one I had to kill though, so hopefully that was enough to not annoy me.
This doesn't make any sense. Rose wouldn't have access to this many men.
An anxious mind is likely to produce more troubled environments inside the Pandora. You're not worried about anything, are you, Black?
Yeah. Worried about getting shot.
It's not real, Mr. Black. Just perceived threat that your mind is heightening inside the Pandora.
It still fucking hurts.
Ironically, this last part is actually really easy to get through if you know what the trick, because the trick is quite simple, really. Stay on the right wall and do not deviate. And here the music will always get a bit more clearer. I really like the sound design of this level. It's weird, but in a way that really works, because it's obviously doing something intentional. It's not just weird for the sake of being weird. There's something going on here that is clear in hindsight, and when you have a full idea of the context behind the game itself. But for now, it makes levels stand out as just a little bit off, and that works fairly well as well, because it's obvious something is going strange here. I mean, as Robert mentioned earlier, in multiple levels, there's way more people here than there should be, with guns. Let's quickly get out of here, shall we? Luckily, as you just saw, they despawned. And now we're safe.
Fuck. Could be
If we
fingerprints.
can work out a way through there. As he mentioned, there could be fingerprints, so let's go for a particular lens, shall we? Here we are. UV. Time to highlight the fingerprints and go most worn out to least worn out. Which I'm sure was actually stolen from a Flash game. I'm kidding, of course. It's a fairly simple puzzle idea. This elevator's down, so we'll have to go this way instead. Further down. These tunnels seem familiar. Well, then again, we are in the basement of this building. Wait a minute, this building? This looks weirdly similar to the FDG building's basement, but then again, this was the building next to the graveyard where Rose and Robert met. This should be their building. Unless you just have very similar architecture, which is possible. Hang on.
What on earth? This place again.
Those doors are finally open. Let's see where they lead, shall we? This spot's pretty cool. I quite like this bit. Apparently she's emailing a friend of hers to vent about Robert's behaviour. This is a pretty cool sequence for me, because this is when she first arrives for the interview. Weird font stuff going on here because this game has a few moments where it's just not as polished as it could be, but there you go. There's some weird stretching going on there with the font.
Red.
This is good. This is
But there's
your
an
mind
interview mode.
connecting the dots. These are fragments, but memories nonetheless. Do proceed.
I quite like this because it's seeing Rose's development as a person from joining the company to becoming Robert's full-on PA. From relatively calm poses here. To getting someone fired. Yeah, here's where she admits the dodgy porn thing. That was me jumping the gun a little bit. Obviously, she's starting to get a little more clout going on in this company, and as such, she's getting a lot more confident in her clothing and position. And more confident still. I like the way Rose's voice as well from the phone call kind of blurs in with the song here as well. That's pretty cool. And here we have her developing her plan. About at least coming up with the
What the fuck?
the base idea for it. We already know she's not the mastermind. Someone more than willing to take part.
What's this? This isn't my memory.
No, Mr. Black, this is one of mine. You need to focus and regain control of your environment.
Focus on what? I can't remember what happened.
Just focus on Rose. The Pandora will do the rest.
Listen, Rob.
Yeah?
When all this is over, why don't we do what we always said? Go away. Leave it all behind.
Jesus. Rose, can you not see what's going on here? Just hold off until I've done the audit on Black. He's already been signed over to me, and...
Rob, don't do the audit. I'm begging you not to do the audit. Please. For me.
Why?
Because I love you. There are things you shouldn't know. Things nobody should know. If you dig too deep, I worry.
Rose, I'll be fine. We'll be fine.
let's try and get back on track, shall we? We've really veered away from the usual thing.
You're going too
Gone
far,
well
Mr.
off
Black.
topic.
Focus. This is your way out. Use it.
My way out? This elevator?
Got very metaphysical here. We've got a kind of interesting puzzle here as well.
Ah, another one of these things.
As we can see, these three things require different configurations of switches. And here we can see the different wattages they require. Obviously, some of these aren't going to work on some of these wattages because, for example, the one on the far right won't work for that top one because that requires 8,000 watts, and that one's only at only at 5,000. And this 2,000 one is really overclocking itself. So obviously, all three of these are set incorrectly. So we need to figure out the right combinations of levers to light up the things in green so that they have the right amount of power from the right conduits. Let's correct that one. That one's the weakest one, so it needs the weakest thing. That's better. One more to repair. The one that requires 3,000 watts. And there we go. Let's see what goes up here, shall we? Time and space, it all collides. Yeah, things like the architecture at FTG and at ADF were both just very similar. And they are both the same kind of office building after all. Yeah, that seems like a new rule because of what Rose did to Gregory. Which is rude, but there you go. There goes Gregory ruining everything for everyone.
Howard is Atkins. Listen, there's been a complication. We've had to neutralize Black.
Howard?
It won't change a thing. Jasper and I will see this through and you'll still get the Pandora. Well, it seems you have no choice but to trust me. Fine. I have to go. I'll keep you posted.
I quite like this little atrium area with all the plants and waterfalls. What's that song on Moses' radio? Seems familiar.
What are you doing? No, stop!
I remember now. I killed her.
You surprised me, Mr. Black. I suspected you were involved, but I didn't imagine that you would confess your guilt quite so readily.
Involved? Involved how?
Did you really think I wouldn't notice a memory being so heavily distorted? What are you hiding from me, Black? What kind of games are you playing?
I'm just exploring these memories like you asked. Nothing more.
If only that were true, everything would be so much less complicated.
I don't know what you're talking about. You've got to believe me.
Ah, but I don't, Mr. Black. Not anymore. But Rose did mention a name. Howard. I'm assuming Roger Howard, the man you stole the corner gun from. Did you meet with him? Don't worry, Mr. Black. The Pandora will find the truth.
I'm telling you, that's what happened. I promise.
Seems Rose fast, quickly losing patience with us.
So, Rose Atkins is dead. Why is that, Mr. Black?
You just saw. Because I pushed her.
Same question. And why was that, Mr. Black?
It's obvious. You were watching. I was trying to save Grace. Rose was trying to stop me. So I killed her. You saw.
I saw nothing of the kind, Mr. Black. I only saw distortion, fragmentation, allusions to a truth that I believe neither of us witnessed.
If there was any distortion, it's from this piece of shit tin can I'm wearing. I'm telling you, I was trying to save Grace.
I believe you, Mr. Black. You obviously knew that Grace had been taken and were doing everything in your power to stop it. The only question is, how did you know? When I hadn't even received the ransom demand.
Does it matter? I tried to stop it.
Yes, you've been more than cooperative. But I'm afraid it does matter. Especially now that Rose Atkins is dead.
Forget Rose. She's gone. But there is Howard. It was all his idea. She said so herself.
Semantics, Mr. Black, a splitting of hairs. But we will find out. We are so close. For the final time.
Proceed.
I'll see you next time when we proceed.